Minister has joined. Welcome, Dr. Sudhakar.
Namaskar. Good evening to all.
Namaskaram.
Good evening, Dr. Sudhakar.
Good evening, sir.
All right, so I take my honor and pleasure to welcome everybody for this evening, which is going to be a very exciting session. My name is Rohan Muktali, and I'm the moderator for the session today. Well, we just have about 5 minutes, roughly about 4 minutes for us to join so that we commence the process in a formal manner. Meanwhile, I would also congratulate Arun and Deepak for taking this bold step towards releasing the book. And I sincerely welcome our chief guests for today, Dr. Sudhakar, Mr. Naveen Kotige, and also all the dignitaries who are here. So I think it's an interesting thing normally when we talk about entrepreneurship, and I'm not sure how many of you who are listening me today and listening us today rather on the entrepreneurship already, or some of you could be also about thinking of embarking on that journey. But it's always very interesting to talk about entrepreneurship. In fact, that reminds me of a famous quote which Reid Hoffman said once, that an entrepreneur is somebody who literally jumps off a cliff and then builds a plane on the way down. Very soon we would probably talk about it, that whether Deepak and Arun decided to jump off the cliff first and they opened up the plane, or they have come up or reinvented something which is totally new for all of us, and that's really interesting. And the book really talks about all of this. As Mark Zuckerberg, I think he said that the biggest risk is not taking any risks. So I'm sure this journey has been enthralling with a number of risks and a lot of butterflies around, and particularly resilience and perseverance. Because when I looked at the book, I was extremely pleased and incredibly surprised to see the kind of stories which really, become the part of the book. And that's, I think, really, I would say, your win, both of you, Arun and Deepak, that putting together so much, compiling, and I think I'm reasonably aware, and this is for everybody, that they have totally put together 35 man months together to get this book out today, which we are quite eager to release this evening. 35 man months, out of which, of course, I would put it about 3.5 to 4 months have been eaten up by the pandemic, which I'm sure must have made their journey a little more tough. But I think that's where the resilience comes in again from an entrepreneur. And what better to propagate your book. And when you say that we talk about tough times and turbulent times, well, we are in the pandemic and we're releasing a book. So I think on that note, I once again welcome all of you. People who've just joined and listening to us this evening, it's really a pleasure to host all of you. We are together on this online platform to release and launch a book called DHOOL DHOOP DHAKKA, which has got a very incredibly distinguished name again, but talks about the journey of an entrepreneur, and how does, these three elements really come, and how do they really, make an impact on the ecosystem of an entrepreneur's life. So I think Deepak and Arun, with your, if you're okay, let's start, the process formally.
Maybe, Rohan, let's wait for 2 more minutes.
Okay.
People are still joining.
All right.
Give us 2 more minutes. 6:32, I think we should start, because
Excellent.
people started joining. Mr. Vivek Verma has also joined. Sir, thank you so much for joining. He is one of our chief guests.
Absolutely, Mr. Verma. Delighted to host you, and good evening and welcome to the session. We have with us Honorable Minister of Health and Medical Education, Dr. Sudhakar, and our other chief guest, Mr. Kotige, who is also listening to us, from Karnataka, who is also the secretary for the BJP cell of Karnataka. So it's wonderful that we've got the the representation of, and of course, we have Miss Smita Purushottam, who's been the former ambassador to Switzerland. And obviously, ma'am, allow me to again reintroduce to you, you to everybody when we come to the session. But what I'm really surprised about is that this evening, we've got a classic representation of, the government representatives, of course, an array of and a fleet of absolutely successful entrepreneurs. We've got people who worked in the PSUs, and of course, the bureaucrats. So that really makes this discussion quite interesting, and I'm personally quite excited and looking forward. So I think thank you and Arun, Deepak, for giving me this opportunity to come and really host and moderate this session. So we're looking at about roughly 75 minutes of the total session, and maybe in the next 2 minutes when we start the session, I can take everybody through the schedule for today. That will be helpful for time management, given the fact that each one of us, time is important. And I think meanwhile, if I can request Sakshi, if you want to quickly play the video so that, people talk about, people can discuss about what's really out there. But just, people who again join us just now. We are, here to release the book DHOOL DHOOP DHAKKA by, which is authored by Arun Lal and Deepak Ghadge. This book particularly aims to serve as a source of inspiration, information, and guide for existing and aspiring entrepreneurs. In fact, when you get a chance to get the copy of the book and when you read it, you'll really realize that how the book's journey has been. But I'll come back with you again once the video is done. Sakshi, over to you, please.
Yeah, sure, sir.
The title what Deepak envisaged was very interesting, and DHOOL DHOOL and DHAKKA, that was really exciting to me. The way he went about describing that. Now coming back to the journey, the entrepreneurial journey. Yes, when you say DHOOL DHOOL DHAKKA, what comes to my mind is an entrepreneur has to have fundamentally a killer instinct. So without that, you can't qualify anybody as entrepreneur.
I feel the biggest challenge or biggest shortfalls what I see normally is that people, they are more keen or they are more excited about the future of the company rather than what best they can do in the present situation. More optimistic. So you always either live in the past or you live in the future, but you never enjoy the present.
If I remember it correctly, were you the one who actually sold off your scooter and cycled to work? Was that you or was that somebody else?
No, that was me. I mean, that was my car.
Car, okay. Wow, that's even more a bigger
kind of fund initial capital to the company. So
right.
Yeah, that is something that those are little sacrifices that you have to do to show the passion that we are getting into, because we all were in a kind of cushy jobs with all the perks, right? But when you actually need to start something from scratch, you actually have to move up from that scratch level. And I mean, that was necessity at that point of time that we need to kind of put all our blood, sweat into the company to make it work.
That is the very toughest moment in my career.
First generation entrepreneurs are very strong, bold, and very fast. But they don't want to give the baton to the next generation without verifying their skills and their abilities. So we have to do ourselves that we are capable enough to take over the business, and we make right decisions, and we have shown him that we can also do better decisions, because decision making is very important in any business, and that's where first generation entrepreneurs are more concerned.
Yeah, the salary aspiration is very high.
Right.
Which is not, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe, just desiring a higher salary is bad. But what one has to realize is you have to have higher competency each year.
Absolutely.
Right? If your competency is scaling at the speed at which your comp is scaling, which is fine because you can do higher paying work.
So when the Kerala floods happened in 2018,
Right.
The first time in Indian history, civilian chopper was pressed into action to airlift these patients or the people from the relief camps.
We had a team meeting around February 25th where we brought down a business continuity plan. The first week of March, we were prepared in all aspects to work from home, got in all the licenses required, moved all desktops to key personnel's homes, arranged financing to ensure that even if we don't have sales, we will be able to, manage. Then started communicating. And when the Janta curfew was announced by our Prime Minister Ji, we were prepared mentally for a longer haul of lockdown that's going to begin. And when lockdown actually started, the organization was completely prepared mentally and also from a digital standpoint.
Even if the whole world believes in you, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody can help you. On the contrary, even if the whole world doesn't believe in you, if you believe in yourself, nobody can stop you. That self-belief, every woman should have. Society is like a bird. Men and women are its two wings. The bird cannot fly with one wing. And India, the bird is trying to fly for too long. I think India may have got independence in 1947. Indians have not, especially the Indian women, especially the financial independence.
खेती में बहुत रिस्क भी है, जैसे कि क्लाइमेटिकल कंडीशन रहता है, ज्यादा बारिश, कभी सूखा, कभी मार्केट गिरता है, बहुत से चैलेंजेस को फार्मर को फेस करना पड़ता है. उसमें कभी-कभी फार्मर ऐसे रिस्क लेते उनका रिस्क लेने का एबिलिटी भी बहुत रहता है, लेकिन कभी-कभी उनका रिस्क उल्टा पड़ता है, कर्जे में डूब जाता है, कर्जा सिर पर आता है और वो ज्यादा फेल्योर लेके फ्रस्ट्रेट होता है.
So when I was talking about the vision for India, I was also to say that you will have to decide, because in most of the cases we are self-sufficient, but now we will have to put focus on quality, focus on exports, and focus on international standards. Producing is a challenge and it is doable, but unless you talk from backward, ये जो मैं प्रोड्यूस करूंगा ये कहां बेचूंगा, उस मार्केट की क्या डिमांड है, उस मार्केट में कैसा प्रोडक्ट जाएगा, unless this information gap is bridged, it will be challenging.
Where our district 3190 is one of the district out of 540 district in the world, never crossed even South India #1, but it has become world #1. That's again a lifetime experience. Anything can happen, anything we can achieve with simplicity, humbleness, and connecting with people.
We do not see construction as a polluting industry. We see automobile as a polluting industry. We see industries as a polluting industry, but we never talk about construction as an activity polluting more than these sectors.
All right. Thanks everybody for your patience, for watching the video and listening to most of the people who have contributed to the making of this particular book. After listening to them, I remember one Urdu sher, which is I think written by Majroor Sultanpuri and goes well with the life of an entrepreneur. कि मैं चलता रहा जानिबे मंजिल मगर, मैं अकेला ही चलता गया जानिबे मंजिल मगर, which means towards the manzil. लोग मिलते गए और कारवां बनता गया, which means that I started on this journey alone, but people just joined me and I made it to my destination. So I think with that, we once again welcome all of you for your time and your interest for today's session, which is the launch session of the book DHOOL DHOOP DHAKKA. So this book particularly is an entrepreneur's journey. It has the key elements of entrepreneur's journey, which is DHOOL, which is symbolic of getting involved in indulgence and literally soiling your hands in all aspects of business. Dhoop represents the discipline of execution, hard work, resilience, and Dhakka ultimately means the struggles one really manages, the perseverance and the persuasiveness to keep moving ahead. So that's how the metaphor for this title is. The book is a collection of inspiring stories from sectors like agriculture, FMCG, healthcare, housing, investment, banking, logistics, manufacturing, security services, startups, family businesses, and franchisees, including some niche companies with path-breaking technologies. It really serves as a reference for entrepreneurs, a guide for aspiring entrepreneurs, and most importantly, it's an inspiration for everyone who has an entrepreneurial mindset. That's what the authors believe. From an incense stick to high-end salons, from wood houses to laser-cut steel, from technological excellence of delivery through drones and to high-tech farming, and from food materials to investment advisory. This book covers it all. And as Arun quotes, somewhere in the book where he says, survive, stabilize, secure, and rescale, particularly with the pandemic. And Deepak joins us in saying that fortune lies in the follow-up. So I think with that context, let's really, go ahead with the launch. I'm just going to quickly set the schedule for today. So we start with, by inviting our chief guest, Dr. Sudhakar, to come and unveil the book. And once he's done, we will also invite, our other two guest speakers, and followed by the people who've contributed to the making of this particular book. And subsequently, once everybody, who's available, who's written in the book today, once we're done with them, then we will also invite and request the people who have very kindly and nicely offered their thoughts through the foreword, because the book really opens with the verse number 47, chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which says karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhurmate sangotsava akarman. And that particularly is really reflecting in the book, in what the people's thoughts are here. And we have these people who are celebrated authors, businessmen, life coaches and thought leaders, and also ambassadors who have given their thoughts as forward. So with that, may I please request Dr. Sudhakar, our chief guest for today, to unveil the book. And that would be symbolic of the fact that the book is officially launched. So maybe please have a round of applause for Mr. Dr. Sudhakar Rao. So we have Dr. Sudhakar, who is unveiling the book. And there the book goes. It will be great. It will be encouragement for the authors, particularly if we all have a huge round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Sudhakar. That's really the moment, for which 35 months of hard work has gone through. And the moment is, when we have our chief guest and guest of honors releasing the book. So with that, may I please request Dr. Sudhakar to share with everybody, some of your thoughts about what do you think about the book and some of your guidance to the entrepreneurs who are listening to us today.
Good evening to all. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for giving me a wonderful opportunity to be part of this book launch this evening. I congratulate the authors, Shri Arun Lal and Shri Deepak Gadge, for coming up with this brilliant book of successful entrepreneurs. And Shri Kotigeji, Mr. Vivek Verma, who are the other dignitaries present in this occasion. So I must also appreciate the authors, Shri Arun and Deepak, for this very apt and catchy title, DHOOL DHOOP DHAKKA. This book, DHOOL DHOOP DHAKKA, throws light on the entrepreneur's journey. Though I think it's getting involved, getting hands dirty, understanding competition, identifying the right opportunity. Dhoop is a discipline of execution, managing operations, implementation, knowing your investors, performance measurement, and execution. Dakha, managing challenges, managing hard times, perseverance, motivate and lead the team, and get going. It reminds me of my mother tongue's proverb, Kai kesaradare, bai mosru, which means only when we get our hands dirty in hard work, while doing hard work, we can be sure and we can achieve the success. Entrepreneurship is not by accident or magic or luck. Entrepreneurship is always by design. It's balance between the emotional quotient and intelligence quotient. Entrepreneurs always see an opportunity in adversity. They should have the vision and imagination to believe it before one sees it. Patience and perseverance are the key for entrepreneurs. As Swami Vivekananda has said, each work has to pass through 3 stages. One is ridicule, second is opposition, and then acceptance. Let me quote famous scientist Sir Thomas Alva Edison, who said, I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. An entrepreneur needs to be an outstanding leader. He should be one who takes risks. It is not possible for any individual to be an entrepreneur without taking risks and coming out of the comfort zone. Those who think ahead of their time are sure to be misunderstood. Most of them would be familiar with this. The power to think differently and ahead of the times for the betterment of mankind is what sets entrepreneurs apart. I see about 800 million potential entrepreneurs who can work towards making the world a better place. India has witnessed many successful entrepreneurs today. We have a lot of talent, energy. This should be harnessed so that we become a nation of job creators than a nation of job seekers. Being the startup hub of India, Karnataka tops the startup winners list in the first edition of the National Startup Awards 2020. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told, reform with intent, perform with integrity, transform with intensity. So reform with intent, perform with integrity, transform with intensity, that defines the modern India that our Honorable Prime Minister is envisioning. Today, India is ranked 63rd in the World Bank's ease of doing business, an improvement from its ranking of 134 before the Modi's government came to power in 2014. Karnataka, I really feel privileged that we have investments, that is, we have received investments worth almost 10,255 crores in the last 3 months amidst pandemic. So in line with Prime Minister Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the cluster will offer world-class infra for electronic goods manufacturing and create close to about 20,000 jobs. Our state also is the powerhouse of research and innovation. The COVID-19 should not be seen as a challenge, but as an opportunity. So ever since Shri Modi came to power, especially during his second term in May, around 27 lakh young entrepreneurs have been added into the economy. So, as he always says, this decade will belong to Indian entrepreneurs. So, we are just 7% of the planet's population. It is still not overcrowded, and there is enough space for new entrants. I hope this book will motivate young aspirants to become successful entrepreneurs. A revolution needs to be started to understand and appreciate entrepreneurship and change the common public's thought patterns. So it's good to hear 4 out of 14 success stories mentioned in this book are from my state, Karnataka. I congratulate each one of the success stories which have made into this book. Let your story be an inspirational factor for other young aspiring entrepreneurs. Together we build strong society and resurgent India. Especially I should thank Dr. Shalini Nalwad, because of her whom I am participating in this program. Once again, I congratulate the authors for their brilliant work, and I wish that the inspiring stories in the book encourages and motivates more and more youngsters to become entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Many thanks, Dr. Sudhakar, for those wonderful, inspiring, and insightful words. I think some amazing facts and data shared by you. And thank you so much. We were really overwhelmed with what you shared. And Dr. Nalwar, thank you so much for helping us to get the minister here today, and really appreciate your time. With that, we move to the second speaker.